I'm calling you for your account. You will lose your account. Just give me your password. You can't answer your account number.
My card number is 156.
No go for my God. No go lose God. Make you no start. Go for your hand. Yeah. See, I see why you're plenty. They wanna do you dirty. They wanna make you empty. They wanna see you fat. No go for my God. Listen, Babylon people wait. You also when you grind and they will be hating. They send you fake verificated. They wanna wipe your Instagram for nothing. Protect your email, different password for everything. You download drag software for free. When you know say my guy you for feed pay. This is risky. Protect your money. No give anybody. Password or OTP. Make them no chop you. No go for my God. No go lose God. Make you no start. Go for your hand. Yeah. See, I see why you're plenty. They wanna do you dirty. They wanna make you empty. They wanna see you fat. No go for my God.
See my brother no go calm. If they ask for your CVV, no go drop bomb. If anybody tell you say hey I'm calling from the bank, can you send me your PV and make you block calm? Come up back by you more bill. If they want you pin, tell them no will. NCDC know they share free money. Make you no go carry mulatro will or the go bill. Protect your password. Use the factor, make your account no go actor. And make you know they click links that you can't trust. Or you go receive a lot you can't account for. No go for my God.
No go lose God. Make you no start. Go for your hand. See, I see why you're plenty. They wanna do you dirty. They wanna make you empty. They wanna see you fat. No go for my God.
I'm the big dog. My God. I get the big dog. My God. You want to try me? My God. Like you behind me? My God. Wait first. If you like put in my gate, wait first. I confess.
Show the joint. I join the prepare.
Welcome everyone to our webinar. This is a very special one. It's based on a very timely topic to be discussing, which is payment card fraud. And I have two very amazing people to talk about it. It's such a big topic that we had to have more than one speaker take it on from multiple sides. So I'm really excited to welcome our very esteemed speakers today. But before they go on to speak, let's introduce ourselves in the chat box. Use the chat box and just say which, where you're joining us from. Can we quickly get that? Just drop a message on the chat box and tell us where you're joining us from before we begin. Just use the chat box there and say what city you're joining us from. While we wait for those responses to come in, we're going to be discussing payment card fraud today. And we know that payment card scams is a global phenomenon that is on the rise. In fact, the explosion of e-commerce and the ease of use of cards for payments are factors that have contributed to the increase. And also, fraudsters have shown resilience by adapting their strategies to circumvent new security solutions. Now, let's get in some stats. According to the Nilson Report, the leading global card and mobile payments trade publication, we know that payment card fraud losses worldwide has reached $27.85 billion in 2018. They also projected that losses will rise to 35.67 billion in 5 years. That's huge.
Hello?
Now, Nigeria, let's bring it back home.
Hello?
In Nigeria, sorry, we lost one of our speakers there. Let's give him some time to join back in. Okay. In Nigeria, the NDIC reported a loss of 38.93 billion in 2018 by deposit money banks. That's huge too. And internet and technology-based sources of fraud accounted for 42.3% of this figure, with 10,000 plus ATM card-related fraud cases reported. You see, the webinar seeks to explore the ways malicious actors execute payment card fraud and what users can do to protect themselves, people like you and I. And this webinar will provide clarity on payment card fraud and its intersection with social engineering by describing the two types of payment card fraud, card present fraud and card non-present fraud. And we have very great speakers to delve into this. So while we reconnect with our first speaker, I'm just going to play a video once again. I see that we have people joining us from Lagos, a lot of Lagos people joining us, amazing. So I'm going to play that video one more time and let's get our other speaker back in, for us to have this conversation. Thank you.
Hello?
Hello? I'm calling you from your bank. You will lose your account. Your account. What I can help you? Just give me your password, your card number, your card number.
Okay. My card number is 1.
No go for my God, no go lose God, oh. Make you no start, oh. Go for your hand, oh. Yeah. See, I see why you're plenty. They wanna do you dirty. They wanna make you envy. They wanna see you fat. No go for my God. Listen, Babylon people wait. You also when you grind and they will be it. They send you fake verificate it. They wanna wipe your Instagram for nothing. Protect your email, different password for everything. You download drag software for free. When you know say my guy, you for feed pay. This is risky. Protect your money. No give anybody. Password or OTP. Make them no chop you. No go for my God. No go lose God. Oh. Make you no start. Oh. Go for your hand. Oh. Yeah. See, I see why you're plenty. They wanna do you dirty. They wanna make you envy. They wanna see you fat. No go for my God.
See my brother no go come. If they ask for your CVV, no go drop bomb. If anybody tell you say hey I'm calling from the bank, can you send me your PV and make you block come? Come up back by the world more bill. If they want you pin, tell them no will. NCDC no they share free more nil. Make you no go carry mulatro will or the go bill. Protect your password. Use two factor make your account no go actor. And make you know they click links that you can't trust. Or you go receive a lot you can't account for. No go for my God.
No go lose God, oh. Make you no start, oh. Go for your hand, oh. Yeah. See, I see why you're plenty. They wanna do you dirty. They wanna make you envy. They wanna see you fat. No go for my God.
I'm the big dog. My God. I get a big toe. My God. You want to try me? My God. Like you they hide me. My God. Wait first. If you like police, they might get wait first. I dey confess.
Fantastic video there. I'm sure you're saying that, but I want you to do more than that. Please just go to your social media, go to YouTube and get the link and just share it with your friends and your family. Let everyone be more educated about about cyber fraud, and of course, how to protect themselves more importantly. So make sure you share the link, and then we can vibe and and jive while we learn more about cybersecurity and the best practices. So I can see that our first presenter has joined back in. Welcome back, Mr. Adeyi. Yeah, please, you can unmute your mic and put on your camera. So Mr. Adeyi will just do a short introduction of himself, because he's quite an amazing person to talk about the topic we are discussing today. He's from the fintech, a leading fintech company in Africa, and he'll just be doing a quick introduction first before he goes into his presentation today. Mr. Adeyi, you have the floor. I think you have to unmute your mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to be here. And a special thanks to CyberSafe for inviting me to speak to colleagues on payment fraud. Well, my name is Damilola Adeyi, and I currently work with InduSwitch. I'm currently the team lead of fraud risk management, and I have a couple of years of experience in the financial industry. Started my career in the banking industry with the Skybank, where I work as information security officer. Thereafter, I moved from information security, I moved to internal control, where I did system control officer, where along the career, I moved to e-banking proper, where I drove the ATM and the channel touch points in the bank. So I've worked as an ATM engineer, I've worked as POS engineer. I moved to the channels where we call our switch. The switch is called Postilion. So I'm also a Postilion certified, where I work, because Postilion is the engine that drives payments today. So all of the things we see in the payment system is driven by a switch, and one of the switch is called Postilion. So I've also worked with Postilion as a Postilion engineer. Thereafter, I also switched a career again to say I want to become a fraud manager. So I started career in fraud management, where I became the fraud manager for Union Bank. So I worked a couple of years in Union Bank as a fraud manager, and I moved to the fintech, which is InduSwitch. I'm currently in InduSwitch as the team lead fraud risk management. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Day. And while you were introducing yourself, I forgot that we had not done an intro for the host. So this webinar is hosted by Nogo Formaga. It's a not-for-profit organization under CyberSafe that is driving awareness about social engineering in Nigeria, and providing people with the knowledge they require or the need to protect themselves. My name is Confidence, and I'm very excited to be your host today. So Day, please go ahead with your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. When we talk about payment industry or payment fraud, both cards, both debit and credit cards are huge threats to merchants today. And the good news is that fraud can be prevented within the right approach, within the technology, within the tool, and the awareness. There are four things that we need to understand when we talk about payment fraud and how we can prevent it. We can prevent it, number one, with the right approach. If you have the right strategy. Number two, do you have the right technology in place to prevent fraud? And two, do you have the right tool to prevent fraud? And the last thing is you need to get an awareness to your card holders to say, what kind of awareness do you need to run with your customers or your card holders? And the first thing is or card payments. You know, most in Nigeria today, people are familiar or they are used to cards. And one of the things is on the touch points, fraud happened on the touch point. And number one, I'll quickly speak to ATM swap. When we talk about ATM swap, we've seen today that a card holder goes to an ATM to withdraw cash, and suddenly you find out that your card is swapped. And the first thing is ATM or card swapping happen first before you enter your PIN. You need to be mindful, because you'll find people around an ATM telling you to say, oh, can we render an assistance to you? During the process of assisting you, a swap is done. They will request for your card, or I tell you to put your card in the card reader of the ATM. And before you put your PIN, the card is ejected and they swap in their card. During the process, you'll find out that the fraudster is very close to you. All what is doing is to say, and that's why I said, first thing, when you talk about card swapping on ATM, you need to be mindful of your environment. Number one, because the criminal is for your card number or your physical card or your PIN. And once he or she gets that, it takes the transaction. He has taken over your transaction. For example, if a customer is trying to make a withdrawal on the ATM and an assistance is being rendered, if you are not mindful of your environment at that location, card swapping is very, very fast and easy to do. And as a learned in card fraud, anytime you use your card in an ATM, first you need to do watch your environment. Two, you need to ask for a space. If someone is getting closer to you, you have the right to say, please excuse me. And if you observe that the person is very close to you, please, I will say, do not expose your card number. Don't turn it on, because we are smart people that when you face your card number, they count the 16 to 19 digits. And the next thing they are looking for is your PIN. So if you are uncomfortable with the people, please request to say they should give you a space, or you refuse to consummate that transaction quickly. And I'll give you some things on how you can quickly protect yourself. Now, on the ATM, if you think that, number one, the ATM is faulty by the time you are doing your transactions, please immediately you cancel your transactions. Because I will speak to this when I'm talking about a card cloning, because card cloning affects this. If you think the ATM you are using is being difficult, or you are finding difficulty, firstly, you need to cancel the transactions and walk away. Also, avoid that if your card reader, where you are slotting your card, you are trying to force your card in. Please, once you try it once or twice, you are not being able to put in your card freely, please move away from that ATMs, because it is prone to fraud. And also, if you have your card ready in your hand before your ATM, like I said, do not expose the face of your card where you have your PAN. That's your 19-digit PAN. Do not face it up while you are holding your card, because somebody that is close to you are looking at the 16, 19 digits to quickly cram and take the number and look at your PIN. And also be conscious of strangers helping you on the ATMs. Be conscious of strangers helping your ATMs. Also, follow the instruction carefully. Where you have instruction on the ATM, follow the instruction. Only punch your PIN once. Please don't punch your PIN twice if you are on the ATM. Punch it once and you move on. If it's an incorrect PIN, eject the card and bring back your card. So I move quickly to card cloning. When you talk about card cloning today, cloning is a form of theft where criminals use a device to steal card information. And I will repeat again, on ATM, cloning is very, very possible on the ATM if you are not conscious of your environment. One, we have ATMs where devices or a small device is beside the card reader. What that means is that immediately you slot in your card, there is a recording that goes on within the card reader because an external device is attached to ATMs. So what that means is that it records your PAN and it records your information. So what you have at the back of your PAN as a card, that is where you have your information, your track 2. And if you are using the chip and PIN, all your information are stored on the chip. So the fraudster records all your card details using a skimming device to record your information. And this is done from a magnetic stripe card. A magnetic stripe card is called the stripe at the back of your debit card is called a magnetic stripe, and which is used to program into a new card. Anytime you find a white plastic card from people, they are trying to clone cards because they use a white plastic card to copy the information they receive from the external device to copy into a white plastic. And however, what you need to do to prevent cloning, like I said, number one, you need to be conscious of your environment. Because if you are not conscious, you just put in your card, whether we are seeing the external device, you might not know that it's a skimming device that is being used to record your card information. So anytime you are using your ATM, please look very well your surrounding. If you find anything outside or external to the ATM, please don't use that ATM and do not use your PIN. Don't punch your PIN into it, because once you punch your PIN, it takes all your information. And how can you prevent that from happening? Number one, you need to be choosy. You need to be choosy. Like I said, don't just use the general ATMs. Don't use the general ATMs. You need to have a specific machines that you feel is reliable. Not every ATMs that you insert your card. You need to be careful. You need to be choosy on the type of ATMs you use. Also, never let your card out of your sight. Don't lose your card. Once you keep your card, please don't lose it out of your sight, because one of the biggest security risks is when you let your card out of your sight, especially when you sit in a restaurant or in a public gathering and you find out that, oh, your card is in your pocket and you are sitting down and your card is out of you. You need to be conscious of your card. So once you are conscious, you have your card in your pocket, please always make sure that you tap your pocket for you not to lose your card. Also, avoid financial transaction on the shared public computers. Don't enter your card details on a public system. Public computers, some have a key loggers installed in them. Some of us might not be able to identify key loggers, but there are key loggers installed on the public systems, which takes or saves your information into the public domain. And once your information is saved, they can use your card information for any other transaction. Apart from cards, you can do purchases, you can do online. And lastly, what you need to do, you need to monitor your account regularly, because you check your financial statement regularly and to see if you have unauthorized access or unauthorized payments that is charged directly into your account. You need to flag it quickly, because if you don't monitor this, if your card is compromised and they've charged fraudulent charges into your account, it's difficult for you to trace immediately. That's why it's very important. One of the things is to make use of regular monitoring of your account, and also ensure that you don't share your card details on a shared or a public computer when you are doing purchases. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. J, for that very brief but very strong presentation. We have Emmanuel also here. Emmanuel, please, can you come put on your camera and let's see you. Emmanuel, please, you have 5 minutes to give us your initial presentation and your introduction, and then of course to go into your presentation in another 10. So you have about 15 minutes. And I know a lot of people have questions here. So if you have a question for either of our guest speakers, please use the chat box, drop your question there, and we're going to answer them. You can drop your questions now or later on, but we will answer them. So you have the floor, Mr. Olani.
All right. Hello. Thank you, Confidence. Thanks for having me on this platform. So my name is Emmanuel Olani, and I'm an information security analyst with FCMB. So I studied cybersecurity actually from the Federal University of Technology, Mina. From there, I moved on to, I worked as a cybersecurity analyst with an MSSP in Abuja. And I was basically on the blue team, so more of the defensive guy, because I sort of realized it's a little bit, it's much more easier actually to poke holes into things than to actually patch all of those holes. So I switched from being a red team, a penetration tester, and switched to being a blue team person. So I went to get my incident handling certification, and I decided to build my strength in that aspect. So from there, I moved on to become an information security analyst, which is where I am right now with FCMB. So basically, it's a bit different from cybersecurity as a whole. However, it has to do with basically the information. So I won't do much about myself. I'll just quickly go into the presentation that I have today. I will be sharing my screen. So let me just. Please confirm when you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, all right, perfect. That's perfect. All right, so I will be briefly talking about still preventing payment card fraud. However, this time we'll be talking about card not present fraud. So basically, this is a presentation we cover a couple of things, which is what is card not present fraud, the types of card not present fraud, and how to prevent card not present fraud. So to quickly dive into it, what is card not present fraud? So basically, as the name implies, card not present. This is any kind of transaction, any form of transaction whereby you do not have to physically present your card. Now, unlike transactions that you carry out at the ATM, where you make use of your card as your payment instrument, you slot in your ATM card. For card not present transactions, you don't need to actually use your ATM card, like physically. Some of these will include online transactions. Now, for online transactions, your card is with you actually, and you just fill in the digits on your card online. So I'm sure a lot of us make use of AliExpress, we buy things online, Jumia, Konga, Black Friday is fast approaching. We're constantly buying things online. All of those they are kind of card not present transactions. Others can also involve maybe telephone ordering. We don't have most of that in Nigeria actually, but basically what we have a lot of in Nigeria are your online shopping and all of that. So basically, these are card not present kind of transactions. Now, your card not present kind of fraud will be where you have stuff like web skimming. Now, Mr. Damla mentioned a schema. We have a physical schema, something that can be attached to the ATM where you slot in your card. So once you slot in the card, it captures the numbers in the front, captures the CVV at the back. That's your physical schema. Now we also have an online schema, a digital version of that that can be put in most commercial e-commerce websites. So that will bring me to the types of card not present fraud. And number one is your web skimming. So basically, this is how it works. Now, if you look at my screen, you're going to see the first thing here, you see a compromised store. So you could have a criminal group, you could have a set of bad guys. They are going to infect or just inject a malicious script to a website. It could be a store that sells maybe shoes, bags, anything you could think of. So basically, when a customer visits that site now to buy something, you add all the things you need in your shopping cart. Now, the moment you are trying to input your card details to make payments for what you have bought, now for this particular group, what they do is it captures the JavaScript file that captures all of your credit card details or your debit card details and sends it via a Telegram message to the bad guy, to the criminal. From there, they can do whatever they want to do with it. They can either sell it on the black market or they can use it to purchase extra things in your name. So basically, this is how your web skimming works, your web card skimming. But this is just one of the methods. Now, when I started my career, before I started out as a cybersecurity analyst, back then in school, I have always loved volunteering. So we started with the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month back then in school. And one of the things that I always did then was I had this keen interest in fraud. So I helped people. I was always investigating different frauds. Whenever someone got scammed, I put it up there that I will assist you pro bono, and I try my best to do what I can do to get your money back. Now, one of the things during one of my investigation, I stumbled on a group of people, and what they do is they sell things online. These guys design a website. Now they have everything that you will see in a website and say it's legitimate. They have HTTPS, they have every single thing. Now you're going to buy something on their website and they are going to deliver it. For instance, now you're buying a shoe or you're buying a bag. Say the normal cost of that bag is, let's say, 10,000. They're going to sell that bag to you for 7,000 or 8,000. Now it's a fair deal because it's like 2,000 naira shortage. It's a very fair deal, and they are going to deliver the bag to you. However, now they are actually the criminal group. They are the malicious guys, and they already have a schema in their own websites. So for every online transaction you make, they are also getting your card details. These guys are all Nigerians. I did the research on them. I got what I could and forwarded it to the necessary party. So your web skimming comes in two ways. It's either this is a malicious group or some malicious actors. They themselves, they designed this website and they did this themselves. Or a website, an e-commerce site got compromised. And how do they get compromised? It could be due to a third-party plugins. You know, where most developers, they make use of maybe WordPress, Joomla, and they don't update all of these plugins that they make use of. So through that, the sites can be compromised, and the malicious actors are going to inject a schema that harvests every card details and sends it to them. Either they want to sell it or they want to make sales from it. So that is one of the types of your card not present fraud. Another is your telephone phishing, which we all know as phishing. Now, this is one that is very, very, very common in Nigeria. And basically, how it works is that you get a guy or you get someone calls you up and tells you, this is your name, this is your date of birth, this is your BVN. Basically tells you every bank detail about you and tells you that your card has been blocked or your account has been blocked and they need to reactivate your account. They just tell you all juicy things. And if you notice, basically what they want they don't just put you in a state of tension. Tell you you're not going to have access to your money, and for you to be able to have access to your money, you need to provide certain information. And basically the only information they want to get are the numbers on your cards, the ones on the front and the CVV at the back. This is an example of card not present fraud, phishing. And so many of our parents, our older ones, are falling victim to this. While I worked in Abuja, I investigated a fraud, a scam, this same vision where a lady was defrauded of over 430 something thousand naira. And by the time she realized that these guys are actually scammers, she had given them card details, and before you knew it, they moved money from her account. So this is another kind of card not present fraud. This is very, very rampant in Nigeria, and we still see it every day. Despite the level of awareness, which yes, we will still continue to do more. This is one of the fraud or attack method that is mostly targeting our older folks, our parents, our older ones. And finally, the last kind of card not present fraud is email phishing. Now, basically, you get an email from, say, for instance, now this is an example of a mail from Trusted Bank telling you that maybe it could tell you that there was a transaction that was done on your account, or your account has been debited for a particular amount of money for probably subscription. If you do not, if you are not aware of this, or if you are not in support of this, you should log into your internet banking. They're going to provide you the URL. Log into your internet banking and cancel that subscription. Now, basically, what they want here is to get your details. It could be your credentials, or it could be they might tell you that your order has been processed. Maybe you actually did an order. They tell you your order has been processed, and for you to complete your transaction, they will now redirect you to a payment gateway or a payment where you're going to input your card details. The idea here is for you to just give them your card details, and basically that's what they need. The numbers at the front, the numbers at the back. So now, in cases like this is a cloned website. Now, they could clone the original website and use that in an attempt to just get your details. It could be an attempt to get your credentials, which is the first step, and the second step will be to get your card details. So these are three examples of card not present fraud, which we see growing very well in Nigeria as a whole. The one that we see the most in Nigeria is your telephone, your vision, and also for the card scheming. It's not so rampant in Nigeria, but it's there, it's existing. And another the basic one you see, which is targeting I would say we've seen it more in the bank because I work directly with the Security Operations Center with FCNB, and we see series of attacks like this. We call these spear phishing attacks because they are targeted at certain C-level executives in the bank. They just want to get your credentials. They just want to get your card details. So all of these are what make up your card not present fraud. Now, how can you prevent your card not present fraud? I'm going to just quickly talk about each and every one of them. The ways to prevent your card not present fraud. Now, the first thing for phishing, be very suspicious of any caller. You see, your bank, there is nobody that will legitimately call you and ask you to share login information over the phone. Nobody whatsoever will call you and ask you to share your login information or to share your card details over the phone. Anybody that calls you to ask for card details, the moment you just hear them requesting for card details or trying to tell you that your bank has your account has been blocked, you need to provide so and so information, just know that this is a scammer. And it's best to not even continue the conversation with them. Drop the call immediately. I know a lot of people will say, yes, there's no such thing as jazz or charm and all of that. But it's been, I would say, let's not give room for chances. There is jazz. Most of these people actually use charm to talk to their victims, and in such a way that when they talk to you and you won't even know what you're doing, and the moment you just hear things that has to do with your bank, your account is this, we need you to provide this and this, just drop the call. It's a phishing attack, and the longer you take, you might be lucky and nothing happens, and you just make a prank out of it and drop the call. Another method is your email phishing. Now, When you receive a mail prompting you to do something, prompting you to log in, prompting you to click on the link, before you click on that link, think before you click on the link. One of the things you want to do is, are you expecting a mail or a message from this particular person? That is one of the things you want to do. Now, I'm just focusing on the non-technical aspect. There are other technical things you could do to identify if this is a phishing mail, but I will not talk about that. I'll just focus on the non-technical aspect. Now, before you click on that link, hover. Now, what I mean by hover is just place your mouse on the link without clicking on it, because there are ways these guys can obfuscate a link or they can rename a link. So what you will see might be www.fcmb.com. However, when you hover on it, the initial or the original link is going to appear. The original URL is going to appear. It could appear immediately by the side, or it could appear at the bottom left corner of your screen. So always hover on the link before you click on that link. And sometimes we can see short or obfuscated link. So you could just see a short link. It's not a full link. Before you click on it, there's a website that I've included in my slide, linkexpand.com. You can copy that obfuscated or short link and paste it in this link. It's going to show you the original link that is hiding behind that short link. So with that, you know exactly where you are going. But the most important of all of this advice is that if you get a link, if you get a mail, for instance, from your bank saying you should log in to do something, instead of you clicking on any link in a mail, type it by yourself. Open a new tab and type the URL by yourself. It is always best to do that than clicking on any link. That way, you know exactly what you are typing, because there are ways that these attackers, these malicious actors, can disguise. While I was working in Abuja, we did a couple of demo, and we used the Greek alphabet to hide, to disguise a URL. So basically, we just picked an alphabet from the Greek alphabet that looked like the letter I, and we used that to create the exact URL of an organization that we're doing a demo for. So it is best you type this URL yourself without you clicking on it in any link. And when it concerns web skimming, the truth about web skimming is that by yourself, there is little that you can do, because the protection or the prevention has to, it comes from the whoever owns that website. The
Exactly.
merchant, they are the ones to actually protect their customers against web skimming. However, what you can do is to install anti-malware browser plugin. For instance, I make use of a Malwarebytes plugins. So once it's noticed any malicious things on any website, it blocks it automatically and gives you a pop-up. There is this particular thing on this website. Be careful. This website has been reported for having malicious activities. Are you sure you want to proceed? So these are different ways that you can protect yourself from the various kinds of card not present fraud. So basically, yep, that's the end of my slide. And I'm supposed to do a demo. However, having issues with the setup. So basically, I'm gonna do the demo and I'm gonna share it with everyone later on.
That's totally fine. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for that very powerful presentation, and thank you so much, Mr. Day. So we have a lot of very, very interesting questions coming in from the attendees, but I would like to give them more time to send their questions. So I'll start with mine. So the first question I want to ask is for Mr. Ade now. So the question is that, would you agree to the recommendation that illiterate customers should not be issued an ATM card? And if you disagree, what ways can such customers protect themselves? Just quickly give us an answer, and then we can also ask you, Emmanuel, one more question, and then we'll take questions from the audience.
Okay. I will disagree with you, because for every issuer now, every financial institution is driving an alternative channels to drive people on alternate channels. And as a card holder, as a customer, you have the right responsibility. If you are illiterate, first you need to have, each time you are making a payment with your card, either you go with your son or a trusted person that can help you. But I disagree to say an illiterate. I've seen in my career days, I've seen a woman that is an illiterate. But I can tell you right now, the woman uses her ATM very well now, because I met her in the bank, and I tried to encourage her, but she got used to it. But now, each time she has a problem with her card, she still calls on me. I'll tell her, do this or go to the bank. So from there, you can still bring those illiterates to still learn with the use of the card.
Okay, thank you so much. Emmanuel, I'm going to ask you the next question, which is, really stemming from your presentations. You have had some experience helping people pro bono. Now you're even doing it, maybe you're in the blue team, but in the times when you were helping people pro bono relative to the times you are now, what steps should an individual take if they receive an alert with fraudulent transactions? Really quickly, in a minute, can you tell us?
So basically, I always tell everybody to have the fraud desk line of their bank handy, because that's usually the first step you want to take. You want to block every further debit transaction from your account, on your card, because it's a card. So the first thing you want to do is ensure that you block every debit transaction from the card. Then you want to call the fraud desk and explain. But most it's usually best to do it physically. So the first step, you want to block debit transaction on your card first. If you obtain it, if it's 5,000 or 50,000 they've deducted, fine. But let it not. So the first step and the most important thing you want to do is just block that. Then you visit your bank physically.
Okay, great. So I will ask my next question, and basically my last question to both of you before I go into the comments and the questions in the chat box. We want to try and make sure we finish it exactly the time that we promised we're going to finish the webinar. So the question is there a reporting channel whereby customers whose accounts have been involved in a fraudulent transaction can report to the payment processor, or must they always go to the bank? I'm going to take this, I'm going to have Mr. Dey. Mr. Dey is on the payment processor side of things, to quickly answer the question before you jump on it to Emmanuel.
Okay. For me, for the payment processor, we don't own the customer because we process. So is the issuer. The issuer is the financial institution. And recently, I think all banks also have a short code to block fraudulent transactions. You don't need to even go to any bank. So immediately it's happening. Even at a gunpoint, you can quickly send a short code and your account. The first thing I usually tell people when it comes to fraud is not by blocking the card, is by blocking the accounts. Because my experience is somebody said he has blocked account, and with the wallet systems, the way it works, you can block your card, but once your account is active, I can still do fraud on your account. So the first thing, when you are involved in the fraud, the first thing you need to do is to block your account, not your token, which is your card. The first thing is your account.
That's so profound what you just said. And what Noble Formaga has recently done is we've collated all of those codes to block your account, and we put it in one post. So if you go on our website, nobleformaga.org, and you search, you set the codes to actually block your account, to find them. So we are trying to collect more for all the banks, and if there's anyone we are missing out and you find that your bank's in there, please send us an email. We're going to try to find it. But the key thing is we want people to be able to have some sort of personal incident response when there is fraud. And I really like what you just said. Thank you so much for that. Emmanuel, do you want to chime in for 30 seconds before we take the questions from the audience?
Okay. I didn't get you. What did you say, please?
I was saying, can you chime in for 30 seconds before we take questions from the audience? Because I can go on with my own questions.
No problem. So basically, yes, like he said, the best thing is to, block your account, not the card, because yes, then you have the USSD besides your card. So if you get your card stolen and your phone stolen as well, if you block the card just goes. But with your USSD, they can still carry out further transactions. So very well, yes, that's very correct. You block your account and not just the card alone. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so this is a question for anyone to take up. Ifan is asking, it says, how do scammers get my BVN and other details, even though I have not shared them with anyone? And he has asked the question 2 times. He thought he didn't get it the first time. So it's a serious question. We need to answer it. Any suggestions of how scammers actually access that information?
If I can speak. All right. So there are two things that I've actually thought of, and one is that there's an insider threat. That is the first assumption I've made, that there is an insider threat. Now the second thing is that basically for BVN, now there are other third-party organizations that actually connect to the BVN API. It could be that now this insider threat is not even in the bank. It could be in one of these third-party agents, whereby, because basically it's an API where you just put in probably your phone number and it pulls your BVN details. So from there, yes, there could be a compromise from that aspect, or it could be an API that was not properly implemented, and that's where the leakage is caused. Yes, but those are just the two things I'm thinking of: an insider threat or a faulty API. Or the threat might not be from the bank; it could be from third-party agents. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Ade, do you have anything to say regarding that, or we can move on to the next question?
Let's move on, because it's also an insider threat. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is what I really like. In fact, there's a video I wish I could play around this one, but I'm just going to ask the question directly to anyone who wants to answer. How do scammers withdraw from accounts in a short couple of minutes when one's phone is snatched away? I have had this experience, not directly this way, and I'm going to share it with you because a backdrop. I was robbed. I had the SIM lock on my phone, on my SIM card, but I did not have a lock on my phone. So I'm sure they might have tried to do something on my phone and it couldn't work. So they tried to now have access to my Gmail account. And that was when I got, an alert on my Gmail that someone was trying to log in. But of course, they couldn't get access to the phone itself. So they were now trying to maybe have access to my details on a computer, because it wasn't on my phone anymore. They were trying to get access. They couldn't get access on my phone. They could not get access on my SIM card. So they now tried Gmail. So literally, I'm sharing that story to tell people that when your phone is snatched, when you're robbed, it's no longer just to sell the device. Sometimes it's actually to get monies out of you, is to get into your personal space and steal from you. So that was one experience. I didn't get 1 naira stolen from me, possibly because I had these things that were triggers I have set up, from SIM lock that doesn't allow people to take out my SIM and use it for transactions, to the lock on my phone, and of course to 2FA on my Gmail that actually alerted me that someone was trying to log in. So if you don't have all of those controls, it's possible that they could rob you and then start seeing alerts the next day. So I wanted to just share, anyone who can share among the both of you, to sort of like share what you think happens in the process.
Okay. Thank you. Firstly, as a fraudster, and if I'm thinking like a fraudster now, if I get hold of your phone, the first thing I'm going to do is to reset your accounts. That's the first thing, is to reset all your accounts. I'm going to reset it to default, to say, oh, I'll reset it to create a new login for me to have access to it. Well, in the event that you are robbed, and like I mentioned, is not only the card now. What I only need on your phone is just your SIM. That's all. With your SIM, and I can move money. I can move money to different banks. So, and I'll give you a practical experience. I have a colleague now that they move money into his account. On his way to work, he was robbed. They took his phone. So before he gets to the office, they've already moved the money. How? Because they have the phone number. So what they did was to create a wallet and account and to do an airtime purchase. So the airtime purchase they did was a test to get his account, where his account is domiciled. So by the time they got that information, these fraudsters, they know the short code, USSD short code of every bank. Once they know that, they can move the money sharply. They create a wallet account in one of the mobile money company, and from there, from the wallet account, they move it to a new bank account.
Exactly.
I didn't hear you.
No, I was just concurring. Please go on.
Okay, so that is the way it works. A smart fraudster, it's once I had a phone, it's for me to just do a test to get where your account is domiciled. And once I get that, I will use your phone number to create a wallet account, and I'll move that money into it. Then if I want to do a transfer from the wallet account I'm creating, I can create into a new bank account and distribute the money. Simple.
Wow. Okay. I think we might have to do a repeat of this event because there's so much we haven't touched on, and there's so much to talk about that. We have two fraud experts that are finishing it hot. So, Emmanuel, do you have anything else to add to what Mr. Day has given? It's quite very, very comprehensive. I know that you might have another angle you want to look at this from.
All right. So one thing that these fraudsters have been able to do is to understand the logical flaws in certain applications. Now, another way that these guys move money, I don't want to mention names, but there are other applications outside the bank's applications now. So many other applications that allow users to fund their account. It still has to do with the wallet account, actually. I have like 2-3 case studies that I've investigated down when I was still in Abuja, investigated, and we had to come down to Lagos to follow up on it. So basically, they move money from your account into that wallet account. It's domiciled with it's another organization actually, but they make use of wallet account. So they move money from your account into that one, and from there they now draw the money. So I'll just give a general name. One of such platforms are betting platforms. Most of them have loopholes, like massive loopholes that allows people to fund their account, in a manner of speaking, using it to launder the money, because that's what I see. So they withdraw it as bet winnings, but it's fraudulent money because it's money gotten from someone else's account. So that's another way that these guys move money from your account so fast. They've understood all of the logic flaws, and the moment they just see it, they just begin to exploit it.
Okay, thank you very much. Juliet is saying she would like to know more about POS fraud, that's card present fraud. So we're definitely having a part 2 of this conversation. There's so much we have not exhausted, but I'm going to ask 2 questions really quickly. The first question is, someone is asking here that what's the difference between email phishing and business email compromise? So any of you can take one of each. But the last question here we're going to take for time's sake is, with the rise of more mobile transaction points, that's Paga and then likes, what security threat is imminent, and how do we protect our bank details? So I think I want to give this last question I read to Mr. Adeyi, and then the one around email phishing. Since you've spoken about it, can you just touch on that to say what the difference is? So I'll start with you, Emmanuel. What's the difference between email phishing and business email compromise?
All right, so I'll start with business email compromise. Now, business email compromise is a targeted attack. For instance, now, nobody can attack me with business email compromise because I am not in the business field. Now, business email compromise is usually targeted towards for instance, chief financial officer, anyone that is in the position of making transactions, someone that can give an order that send this particular money to this person. Those are the kind of people that are usually targeted for business email compromise. So they use their own email address, now their email account, to now carry out the transaction. But email phishing can be just a general attack. It can be just, trying to just fish for who is going to click on it or debate. So basically, that's just the difference. Email phishing is not targeted, but business is targeted at particular people in the organization. Could be the CEO, the CFO, anyone in charge of accounts or monetary position. That's both of them.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Day. You have the floor before we close out.
Okay, for mobile, for mobile banking today, we have huge fraud coming from mobile banking today. And one of the things and users should be able to do that is prominent today is account takeover. If the process of your mobile banking that the account takeover it's porous, it's a huge loss to the person, and you have a lot of vulnerabilities today. And I can tell you why why I was in the bank, and I will mention as a fraud manager, what I used to do is to pick some banks' mobile app and do a test. And I can tell you the banks that are porous today, because if your mobile app, your onboarding, the first thing is very easy, then you have a problem, you have a vulnerability gaps, and you have a lot of fraud. And today, in the industry today, in the statistics of fraud, we have mobile to be the highest percentage of fraud coming from mobile today. As at September, mobile is on the increase in fraud, and we are seeing fraud from mobile.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Day. I think just to close out, I want to say that first, if you have any questions that you want addressed, please send them. We are going to have a repeat, not a repeat, we're going to have a part 2, a follow-on of this conversation. There's just so much information that I think people are going to be taking in here. So have your friends invited. We're going to have another date. If you registered, then we have your details. We're going to send out the replay for this session. And please, I think for my guest here, we have one key responsibility to put together, maybe work together more, so we can put together more resources to help people. I mean, there's so much that we have said during this webinar. People need to know. People need to know how to protect themselves. People need to know what to be mindful of. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Deyi and Mr. Emmanuel. I can't wait to have you back here and to ask all of my questions, because I'm sure other people want to also ask questions. And I'm so happy that you made it. Thank you so much for your time.
You are welcome. You are welcome.
So to close out, we'll just listen to that music video one more time, and then you can exit the room. You can dance while you exit the room and learn more. But remember to please share your experiences from this webinar, what you have learned. We want to see it on social media. We want to be tagged, no go for MAGA, or use the hashtag no go for MAGA. People need to know what you have learned, because it's not just for you. Someone out there could use this information. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Have a great weekend.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello?
I'm calling you for your account. You will lose your account.
My account, okay.
Just give me your password. You can't answer. You can't know.
Okay. My account
Listen, I need you to, on that page, log out.
No go lose God.
Then log in for another browser to
Go for your hand. Yeah. See, I see why you're plenty. They wanna do you dirty. They wanna make you empty. They wanna see you face. No go for my God.
I'm good.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So I just.
You download crack software for free, yeah. When you know, say my guy, you for feed pay. This is risky. Protect your money. No give anybody. Password, or OTP. Make them no chop you. No go for my no go lose guard. Make you no start. No for your hand. Yeah. See, I see why you're plenty. They wanna do you dirty. They wanna make you empty. They wanna see you fat. No go for my
See my brother no go come. If they ask for your CVV, no go drop palm. If anybody tell you say hey I'm calling from the bank, can you send me your PV and make you block come? Come up back by the world more will. If they want you pin, tell them no will. NCDC know they share free money. Make you no go carry mulatro will or the go bill. Protect your password. Use two factor make your account no go act up. And make you know they click links that you can't trust, or you go receive a lot you can't account for. No go for my